So today we're going to talk about food groups. The reason why we're starting from here is because you need to know what food groups there are in order to plan your meals better. So basically, food groups are groupings of foods based on their nutrient values. You would group vegetables together because they have similar nutrient values. You would group cereals, starchy roots and tubers together because of a certain nutrient or key nutrients that they provide. So if you remember, in the past, Zambia used to have 3 food groups. From school, you remember that we had bodybuilding foods, we had protective foods, we also had energy-giving foods. Basically, those are function-based groupings of foods, which we've moved away from. That's the old grouping system. But we do have a few countries that still follow the 3 food groups like that. But countries have decided now to group their foods based on the nutritional or eating patterns of the country. But more importantly, especially for me, is the fact that countries have unique contextual food groups based on the nutritional needs of the population. And as Zambia, we now have 6 food groups, which I'll discuss later on. Other countries will perhaps say the need is vitamin A or calcium, and so they would have a separate group maybe with foods high in vitamin A and calcium. And when it comes to eating patterns, countries actually group foods based also on, what the country or the population needs to eat, because eating should be enjoyable. We do not eat just for the sake of eating or for health alone, but also because it's enjoyable. It's part of culture. And so you have other countries that have seafoods as a group on its own because that's what they eat on a daily basis. So that's part of their staple diet. So basically for Zambia, coming back to Zambia, we have 6 food groups now. From 3 now to 6. But don't worry about that. It may sound or look a lot, but it is possible to eat from these food groups. And by the way, we are required to eat from all 6 food groups every single day. But that's possible, and I'll show you how. Our 6 food groups for Zambia are: number 1, cereals, starchy roots and tubers. These will be your foods like cassava, rice. You have, of course, the golden maize, shima. You have millet, sorghum, wheat and so forth. So that's cereals, starchy roots and tubers. And when I say starchy roots, of course cassava is the popular one, and also tubers like sweet potatoes is a good example, Irish potatoes and so forth. Basically that's the cereal, starchy roots and tuber group. And then we have vegetables, of which we have plenty of vegetables, the indigenous vegetables, exotic vegetables, name it, right? So I don't even want to go into details there. And then also we have fruits. In other countries, vegetables and fruits are actually put together. They do have similar nutrients, to be honest, but really the difference in Zambia is that we eat a lot more vegetables and not enough fruits. And even if we eat vegetables, we usually eat vegetables that are overcooked, and so they don't even give us the nutrients they are supposed to. So part of the reason of having the vegetables and fruits separate in Zambia is so that we also encourage fruit consumption. And then fourthly, we have legumes, or what we call it pulses sometimes. So legumes or pulses, nuts and seeds. These will be your groundnuts, beans, lentils, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, name it, right? So legumes or pulses, nuts and seeds is the other group. And then also we have fish, insects, and other animal source foods. When I say insects, obviously you know that I'm talking about the edible insects in Zambia, but edible is relative, right? But anyway, we'll not get into that. Insects would be finkubala, fulufute, inshonkonono, inswa, and we can go on and on and on depending on what you eat. And also regions. In some regions we do not eat insects, but we've included that in that group because it is actually an excellent source of protein. Actually, sometimes even more than other foods like the chicken, fish and meat. You find that insects contain more protein and more of the other nutrients that the traditional meats do not consume. So don't ignore those insects. The last group for Zambia is dairy. I know it's an animal source food, and we had a huge debate on this when we were developing these food groups. But dairy is a separate group because we do not have enough calcium. So a number of people in Zambia, if not all of us, including myself, do not have enough calcium in our bodies. And the easiest source of calcium is actually milk. right? And so a little bit of milk, not excessive, a little bit of milk in your diet every day is actually excellent. So dairy and, or let's say milk and milk products, animal milk that is, here I'm not talking about soy milk or groundnut milk or oat milk. I'm really looking at animal milks. So goat milk, cow's milk, even human milk, especially for infants. These will be the 6 food groups for Zambia. Let me run them through quickly. Cereals, starchy roots and tubers, vegetables, fruits, legumes or pulses, nuts and seeds, fish, insects and animal source foods, and then dairy. So those are the 6 food groups for Zambia. Are they confusing? Well, don't worry. In the weeks to come, I'll be discussing each group in more detail so that you know how much of food from each group you should be eating. Until then, see you later. Way to eat.